I wanted to ask you, do you like you have some interesting stories, almost the trifecta of death that came your way. Like you've had these crazy experiences, near death experiences that I thought were, you know, hopefully everybody has at least one in their life where they come to this road to Damascus moment. And it seems like you've had three of them. Can you share maybe one or two or three of them about what happened and how do you think it changed you?
Well, I think the second one is is good to share because there's sort
Okay.
of a background to it.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I've had three, as you mentioned. I had a near
Right.
drowning thing, and then the one I want to talk about is the heart attack the year after.
Mm.
So yeah, that happened when I was 19. And what was interesting about that, there's a backstory which I don't think I wrote about, but I was at a crossroads, and basically one route was traveling and one route was going to this business school where I was. And I don't want to get into more details, but basically they were incompatible. So I was doing summer session because I was taking summer courses, and it was like a week before the last exam I had to take. And if I aced that exam, it would have got me into the business school, at which point I would be confronted with that choice. Okay, do I do that or do I do this? A couple days before, out of nowhere, I have a heart attack. It's like 10 in the morning. I'm eating cereal, and like I'm by myself in the apartment that I was sharing, and I have all the telltale things. I had the numbness in the arms; it
Right.
was in both arms, and I was like, man, this is weird, but it can't be a heart attack. Like that's insane. Because I was in awesome shape. I was playing competitive racquetball for the school. I was in the gym every day. I was playing 2 or 3 hours a day. I was swimming. I was lifting weights. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was like, no, that can't be. So I laid down for a while, and then I started getting this arrhythmia, and I could like palpably hear
Ooh.
it. And then I was like, well, I feel like an idiot, but I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. So I drove myself to the nearby university hospital, which is about 10 minutes away. By the way, terrible idea. Anybody listening, don't do it. I was too embarrassed to call 911. That's a stupid reason to drive yourself to a hospital while you're having a heart attack because you can lose consciousness and die. All right.
Right.
Luckily, I did not. So I got to the parking lot, checked myself in, and I went to the lady there and I said, hey, I think I'm having a heart attack. And then she said, well, are you doing exams right now? And I said, well, yeah, actually, I have an exam in a couple of days. She's like, oh, okay, well, go talk to the charge nurse then, and she'll check you in. So then I go talk to the nurse. And then, of course, if you've ever been to a hospital in the US or any kind of clinic, they check you in, they ask you to rate your pain on this infamous scale of 1 to 10 or whatever it is. So I don't know if I deluded myself in hearing this or misheard or whatever, but she said, please rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no pain, 10 being the worst pain you can imagine. So I don't know if she exactly said the worst pain you ever felt or the worst pain you can imagine, but I heard worst pain you can imagine. And I've got a very vivid imagination. So I'm like, okay, what the 10 is like being burned alive or there's medieval torture flaying the skin off me or whatever. So if that's a 10, this is like a 5, right? I
Right.
mean, it hurts, but it's not anything compared to that. So I mark 5. And they're like, okay, go in the waiting room. So I go in the waiting room and like 10 minutes go by, 20 minutes, 25, 30, no one's coming to get me. And I'm like pale, I'm shaking, and I'm like almost losing consciousness. I can barely keep my eyes open. So then I managed to drag myself back over uh, to the desk again. I was like, I know you this. So it's been like an hour and a half now since I've had
Wow.
these heart attack symptoms, or close to that. And then I finally get myself, I'm like, look, I know you think I'm stupid, but I really think I'm having a heart attack. And they're like, oh yeah, they were just looking for you and whatever. So they bring me into this hallway, so a makeshift bed, and they once again give me anti-anxiety medicine because they're still operating under the assumption that I'm worried about my exams.
Right.
So that does nothing, right? So there's another 20, 30 minutes where like I'm just sitting there like, oh, like just like being constricted, like just there's a vice around my chest, can't breathe
Yeah.
very well, and all this pain and stuff. And they finally do the scan, and I come back from the scan. They're like, "Hey, we think you had a heart attack." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I've been telling you that for almost an hour and a half in the hospital."
Right.
And then they gave me the thing that it's like nitroglycerin
Mm,
that they put under the tongue, and that just opens your arteries. And then it kind of went away, like the pain went away in literally 5 or 10 minutes. And then I was just like walking around as if nothing happened.
mm.
So, oh yeah, they thought I smoked crack. That was they're like, did you smoke crack recently? It's like, no, no crystal meth, anything like that. It's like, no. So it's just, I don't know, it's just this fluke thing that I suppose anyone can have. I mean, it's very low probability, but basically an artery just randomly spasmed closed
Mm,
and cut off the blood flow to my heart. And I'm telling the story because it's entertaining, but the backstop of the story is that once I got out, once I got recovered, this decision tree was like crystal clear.
mm.
There was no doubt that, oh, it's like, no, it's a travel thing. I'm going traveling. Like I'd had no more interest in the business school thing. I ended up taking the test, getting in anyway, but I was like, I don't care. I've already decided. So it's an extreme example of, I think we have this a lot. Like a lot of people have this, if you're aware to it, where if you have this sort of fork in the road of life, if you put the question out there, sometimes you get answers in ways you're not expecting. And I think that was kind of what this was. It was like the travel is the heart path, and then the work is like the logical mind path. And then it's like heart attack. Hey, pay attention to your heart. What do you really want to do? You know? And then I looked at it and I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, that's pretty clear what I want to do. So then
Yeah.
then I'm going to Spain. Um, Stayed there. I was supposed to go for a semester, and up staying like over a year. I got a job there, like bartending. Just like had the best time, and had no desire before that to really go traveling. But this experience gave me that travel bug, and then after I was like another 6 months, I had to go back to graduate, and then I just left. I took off. I went to Japan after that. Um, Stayed in Japan 2 years, Taiwan 5 years. Yeah, so that really opened up a whole chapter of life.